All of you who've seen these videos have noticed a trend. I am disgusted with the two-party system. Now, I'm sure that many of you will see one or other of the parties as a half-assed, stupid political hack job. Nancy Pelosi lets immigrants and criminals get a free pass. Mitch McConnell lets states and pandemic recession victims go bankrupt and never signs bills at the expense of the working people. Blah, 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 blah. I'm sure depending on which side of this extremist disaster you're on, you have an opinion bordering on obsession. Keep in mind that recent research has shown that while the country is divided, extremists are not in the majority. It's just that extremists catch our attention and drive the news cycle, whether most of us want it or not. The point is that people who are in the middle aren't heard from in the first place. But today I'm speaking to extremists, and unfortunately it's right-wing extremists, so you can feel insulted if you want. I'm not thrilled with either side. Either one is made up of a machine that works towards maintaining power and in many cases money from supporters. I watched as the months went by and food lines grew, and neither side could seem to do a goddamn thing about it. In fact, I think one of the reasons that Donald Trump was elected in the first place was because people felt that the basic political machines had ruined their lives and left them high and dry, ignoring their problems. Now, like a couple of other of these videos, I had to admit that I had stumbled on something that might involve going a little bit farther than it should, and I have to address it. Now, generally, the parties are equal, but when the stakes are high enough and one side threatens to take us all down, survival determines that you take a side. It seems that at least in this one case, there is more at stake than your anger and your desire to be angry at the enemy that fits your anger, which in my humble opinion, the reason for extremist hatred is anger, not politics. In this case, you may have picked the wrong enemy. Some of you will hate this. I can only ask that you listen to your conscience and look to our history and see what it has always meant for the Americans to be truly Americans. For decades, our country has been compared favorably to countries like Russia and China because of our freedoms, something that they don't have, and makes us the evil that we've been fighting since World War I. We began 250 years ago or so with a monarch who, like today, represents a tribe fighting another tribe. The monarchy decided they could decide the fate of the other side through the use of power. Sound familiar? What many people want to forget when they want to change the election is that our founding fathers, after getting their noses rubbed in dirt for years, went out of their way to sacrifice their own political desires to create a straightforward, no-holds-barred democracy. They didn't try to put themselves on top or anyone on top, but to avoid another fascist disaster, they created an open country and created long-term fairness for every citizen in the country as much as possible. It's not perfect, but notice we've gone back and forth over the years, Democrat to Republican to Democrat, over and over and over again, and the country has survived. Let's face it, in the 250 years, each election has disappointed at least one side of the population. It didn't make us hate each other. Yet now, that doesn't seem to be the truth. People are looking for enemies, and they are creating conspiracy. They're looking for the other side creating a conspiracy. So if there was no conspiracy for over 250 years, even as recently as 5 years ago, where is the conspiracy coming from now? If we spent all the centuries going back and forth between Republicans and Democrats, trading control, and both sides accepted it, why are we suddenly considering a grand conspiracy? Who created it? Where are the enemies? Where were they a few years ago? As much as the Democrats complained about the last election, they conceded and created a smooth transition, which is our current president complimented that. Why? Because they respected our founding fathers and the democracy. As imperfect as our nation is and the system that we have, it's supported by the majority of Americans because it is the legacy of the Constitution. Do you believe in the Constitution? Do you believe in the sacrifice of all our troops throughout the years who fought for our basic rights? Or do you believe in winning for your side? Because that's the end of America. And once it's gone, you can't get it back. Consider this one thing. When the dream team of lawyers went to the courts in the battleground states, they could have claimed fraud. Yes, the claims of fraud have only been stated outside of the courts. Rudy Giuliani refused to say that they were claiming fraud. He actually told the judge that. Now, what else would you be claiming if you wanted to prove fraud except to claim fraud? So why did he refuse when asked? There's only one reason. Any lawyer would do this, because lying to a judge, many of whom are Republicans, is a ticket to jail. Consider this. This has been consistent. I know you believe it's them who stole the election, but who is them? The Dems, of course. But then Donald Trump blames Kemp for the steal, a Republican governor. And then he blames Republicans in the state of Pennsylvania, including the Secretary of State. And then he blames Mitch McConnell, the Republican of all Republicans. And soon Pat Robertson, who just basically said that he lives in an alternative universe, is going to be another one who stole the election. He'll soon be an enemy. So are the Democrats the enemy? Or is it Trump? And will you pay the price? If your enemy includes Republicans, a group that Donald Trump is criticizing, that includes you. If you're a Republican extremist, how does that work? Today we wait as millions of hungry people wait to see if they can be saved from starvation and loss of jobs and the businesses they put their hearts into, and they'll be gone forever, and the employees will lose a paycheck. I don't know if you have faith, but I do. This is not the way we're supposed to treat fellow human beings. Yet all these issues are left hanging for no good reason. Remember that when you decide who the enemy is. Do you believe in morality? Do you believe in the sanctity of life? Can it just be politics? Ask yourself that. And thank you for listening.